Missouri Senator Roy Blunt is with us this afternoon to talk about his reaction. Senator, welcome to KMOX again. I don't know if I've even spoken with you this new year. Happy New Year.
You know, I think maybe not, Mark. I was going to come by the other day and see the new studio, and it turned out to be a day that you were one of those rare days you take off, and I didn't get by, but I'll be by there soon, and good to talk to you today.
Well, you could restate that by saying, I was going to come by, find out you were going to be. There was no reason to come by if I wasn't there, right?
Well, I could say it that way. But,
no, I'm just teasing. All right. Well, what was your reaction to what the president said? Let me start with this question. Is there anything in those initiatives that you think is okay?
Yes. I think there are some things there that can happen. I'm not sure the president can actually get them done by just doing them on his own, but things like sharing information about criminal history, sharing information about someone that's concerned about their mental stability. You know, one of the consistent factors of these things that have happened, really at least going back as far as the shootings at the Virginia Tech, is that in almost every case, somebody in a community had said, we don't want you on our facility anymore because we think you're unstable and may be dangerous, but they didn't share that widely enough with others in the community. So maybe the guy that shot Congresswoman Giffords wasn't allowed to go to the community college, but nobody was paying attention to what he might be doing near the Safeway store. So that kind of thing has potential. What bothers me always in recent times, in fact, in almost every occasion, is the president will set some goal but really not have any kind of legislative strategy to try to get anything done. So no specifics, strong on little things that probably don't make much difference by executive order, and very little commitment to getting something done legislatively, because frankly I think he just doesn't like to work through the whole process. That is not his strength, and he doesn't like to compromise, and he doesn't like to have other people have other opinions, and so that came out pretty strongly, I thought, in the comments he made yesterday.
There was a part at the end of the news conference when he said, let me play this, it's only 30 seconds, where I think he's talking about you and perhaps a lot of us here in Missouri and in the middle part of the country.
I will put everything I've got into this, and so will Joe. But I tell you, the only way we can change is if the American people demand it. And by the way, that doesn't just mean from certain parts of the country. We're going to need voices in those areas, in those congressional districts where the tradition of gun ownership is strong, to speak up and to say this is important. It can't just be the usual suspect.
Now, he wants to reauthorize the assault weapons ban. He's talking about high-capacity clips, things along those lines. He wants your help, Senator Blunt. Will you give it to him?
You know, let's see what he actually has to propose. The majority leader in the Senate, Senator Reed, said he thinks that there's not likely to be any legislation that goes to the Senate. The Speaker of the House says if the Senate doesn't pass anything, he's certainly not going to try to do anything in the House on the gun side of this. And you know, all of us should be concerned about the tragedy of anybody dying, particularly young children dying. I mean, I've got a young son in the second grade. I've got grandchildren that age, six grandchildren. That was outrageous to see what happened, and tragic to see what happened. But frankly, the president hasn't really proposed anything that would stop that from happening. Connecticut's one of the hardest states in America to get a gun in, and there's nothing the president's proposed that would have kept his mother's guns out of the hands of that young man that everybody that knew him knew that he wasn't as stable as he should be.
The NRA is made out to be the bad guys in this. Not really. The real bad guys aren't the bad guys, apparently. The guys that are, killing people and using guns in criminal fashion. But the NRA is the stated enemy from the president and from a lot of people out there. You've been supported by the NRA. I'm an NRA member. How do you react to that? Because I think that in Missouri in particular, there are, and this is where the logic I think is very, very confusing. There are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in Missouri, if not millions, who own guns guns, who don't break laws with them. It's not the Wild West, and they don't agree with the president on a good part of these initiatives.
Well, I think that's right. And, this is the part of the country that so often the president, at least in his mind, I think is often dismissed, and at least once publicly dismissed, is the parts of the country where they cling to their religion and their guns, and clearly without an appreciation for the Second Amendment rights or just the hunting rights and the traditional the things that we do where you and I live, and respect and appreciate, to learn how to have responsibility for weapons, and every weapon can be an assault weapon, whether it's any weapon can be an assault weapon. We kind of overdo that because it sounds like a bad thing to let somebody have, but most people are killed with handguns that can also be in some grandmother's bedside table just in case something happens. And so we've got to find that balance between how do we in St. Louis just this week, the person had trouble with law enforcement in the past. He was seen by those who knew him, by many who knew him, as mentally unstable, and he got his hands on a weapon, and that's a bad combination. But all three of those things were areas that had to come into play before that weapon became a weapon that could do harm to somebody else as opposed to protect you.
Senator Blunt, always great to have you on. And are you in Washington right now, or are you back here in Missouri?
I am. I was there yesterday. I was there Saturday. I was at the Martin Luther King celebration at Harris Stowe, so I was just a few blocks from the school where the shooting occurred this week. I was in Kansas City yesterday talking about a new assignment on the on the Armed Services Committee at a time when we're talking about how we're going to spend our money more wisely in the military, and I'm here, I think, now through. Well, I'll be back in Missouri next week a couple of times.
Come see the new digs. Let's arrange that. And then I just this is exciting because I had to skip the trip last year. I'd like to get to Washington at least once a year, and I'm coming out there in April. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, be sure we've got you on our schedule.
Yes, we will arrange that, Senator.
And you've got me on your schedule.
Vice versa.
Okay.
Thanks, Senator. All right, take care. Senator Roy Blunt.